Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Sprite Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Sprite Raven, and joining me on this lovely Thursday evening, we're talking about comics news and reviews. My co-host, the Blue Who, Chris Hall.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
We're both a little bit out of it. It's been a really rough day, and we just both woke up about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's about it too. Like, Chris, wake up!
Yeah. So if we're a little bit slow on the draw today, that's why. I was out all day in 96 plus degree weather, doing running errands and stuff, and got home and I just crashed, and I was lucky to wake up myself. So I can't, at least you had someone to wake you up.
Right. That hot weather will get you every time, man. It really will.
All right. And of course, if you just didn't see him in the background,
we have the Midnight Monster.
Now he's going to run away. He's just being bad.
Playing camera shy.
Yeah, no, it's playing camera shy. He just wants me to get up and give him something. I'm not going to.
Oh, I see. He's playing that game.
So, let's start with comics news, shall we? Yes. It's Bleeding Cool site. It sucks, but it's important. Diamond Previews catalog is digital only. It's the end of the era. The print catalog is now over and done with after 30 plus years, moving to digital only edition via JUMAG. I've never been there, don't know. Retailers and customers will have access to full previews experience and ordering tools online at previewworld.com. We'll see if that actually works, because it's never worked for me before. Major companies will have already left, so it doesn't really matter what the previews is going to carry. Anyway, that's kind of the gist of the thing. And of course, they're explaining that rising cost, bankruptcy, and the publisher departures have made the print previews unsustainable for Diamond. And it's not really so much that it's unsustainable for Diamond, it's unsustainable for everybody.
Right.
Because they just don't have anything going on. So, what do you think of this news, Chris? Is it what we expected, inevitable?
It's completely inevitable and expected. This was not a surprise to me. I did read the little article that Ben Dunn wrote this morning, saying, "I'm not getting paid. Nobody's getting paid. What are we gonna do?" So,
that's a separate situation we're going to get into. But I'm just talking about the actual catalog itself.
I think it was inevitable. The print is dying. I mean,
yeah. Well, I think it's going to majorly affect retailers moving forward, because I'm sorry, most of us don't want to sit there and go hunt down a PDF file and download a PDF file that's supposedly going to be the book, make orders, and go through another row to give to our retailers or whatever. It's a lot easier in certain respects. I know I got the regular print catalog and the print order form specifically because I ordered out of the back of the catalog. Is that stuff even going to be listed anymore? Probably not, because it looks like the people that bought Diamond aren't even going to use Diamond now, because they're just that much of a bunch of idiots. Mm-hmm. But, so I don't know what to think. And if that adversely affects things, how will I be buying books moving forward? Possibly just no more Marvel, DC, or any other of that stuff, period. And just doing creator-owned and, crowdfunding and direct to consumer, and the hell with everybody else.
Right.
It could be a possibility.
And our generation we're very tactile. We're not a digital generation. We like the feel of the comics in our hand. We like the feel of books in our hand. It's not the same thing.
Right. Well, it's more of the point of, is the format of the digital going to actually have what they say it's going to have? They never have before, so why would I expect them to now?
Right.
That's the key thing.
Yeah.
And I realize that nobody gives a shit about the indies. At least Diamond doesn't. But that's why we're all digital and everything as it is, because they didn't give a damn about their jobs, and frankly, neither did the retailers. So now they have them whining the way they do, as it's like, now you were talking about Ben Dunn.
Yes.
Ben had a thing on Facebook whining about how Diamond hasn't paid all the back monies that are owed through for stuff that's already been shipped to Diamond by Antarctic Press. No shit, Sherlock. Could have told you that 3 months ago. The minute these guys even announced anything, you cease shipping all product because you're not getting paid.
Right.
Until it's, and any back money's owed, you might as well kiss it goodbye. And is that going to adversely affect Antarctic Press? You bet your ass it is. It's going to adversely affect every publisher not named Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, basically, because those companies have already left and everybody else was using somebody else's stuff. And Diamond was like either piggybacking or being the holder, but shipping it through other stuff through Lunar and PRH or whatever. And so now that that's being rearranged, it's, we already knew that this was going to be a mess. Right. They owe that printer that prints the catalog over $500,000. They own Dynamite over $500,000. I don't know how much they owed. Did Ben say how much they were owed?
They just said a large amount.
Yeah. I would imagine it's probably six figures for them too.
Yeah, that's going to sting.
And that's the problem. I mean, how do you, if you can get the product back, it's still in Diamond's warehouses, or is it in warehouses and these idiots that bought the company not paying the bill, like I suspected all along?
Right.
That's where the main problem comes in. And that's what companies like Ben are trying to resolve, is how the hell are we getting paid for what we've already sent you? And, we went through this crap when Diamond monopolized, and that's why all those companies went out of business in the 90s, is because those other distributors did not pay when they went under, and I don't expect Diamond will either.
No.
So, I'm sorry, but, this was like, people should know better,
The bell rung. The bell rang and nobody heard it. There he is. The Midnight Monster.
Stop it.
Oh, is he biting?
No. He's mad because I picked him up by his back of his neck.
Oh.
Now you behave or you go away. What are you going to do? You behave or go away? You want to go away, don't you? I'm not going to have him sitting there hitting me on the back of the arm all night.
Right.
It's just not going to happen, So anyway, there's that. Now, on top of that, there is what Rich Johnston calls a scoop. I don't believe it, but okay. If this thing won't share, what the heck is going on my computer? Oh, there we go.
It's sharing.
No, there was a delay. Massive delay.
I see. Yeah.
Okay. DC Comics are not going to be distributed in the U.S. by Universal. In addition to Lunar. So by the way, Comixology, the people that created one, they're creating a new one and they've signed up Marvel and DC. So there's Comixology doing that.
Okay.
So there are going to be, Universal will be distributing comics in the U.S. They've got DC through Universal distribution. That's nice. Whatever. I really don't give a damn what DC or Marvel do. The main concern is, what is the indies doing? So talk to me when this Universal stuff is working for everybody else.
Right.
But
Not just the 1%.
It is there. So right, we just don't care, now, they're talking about, well, now is Universal going to be a direct competitor with their joint at Populum? Probably will. That's life. That's what we expected. It was a big mess. So yeah, I'm going to stop that screen because I think part of the problem was it was on the ad-laden cool
gotcha.
channel there.
Right.
So I think that probably had something to do with it as well. But anyway, so yeah, there is that. So those are like two of the major stories going on, and kind of the same situation as it has been. I'd rather see Rich cover and get an interview with Milton Greek about what Milton's doing with his group over at ICV2. An interview with Phil, what's his name for Philbo? Phil Russer or whatever. Yeah.
Yep, Phil Russer, yeah.
Yeah, that's the important shit. Marvel and DC, they're going to get their books out. Who gives a damn?
Right.
One way or
another, yeah.
I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about the rest of the market, and nobody else seems to be, because when you see the news coverage, there's nothing on it. So, has David Campini talked about any of this in the last couple of days?
No, he has not. Actually, no. So yeah, I'm not sure what he's thinking about the whole situation. I'm sure he's up to date on it, but he has not told me what he's thinking. So
okay, well, maybe we'll find out on Saturday.
Yeah, there we go.
Alrighty then. So let's go ahead and get rid of the news stuff and get into some fun stuff for a change. A pace. And let's start reviewing comics with Benjamin, number 1 of 3. And this is from Oni Press, $5.99. 1 of 3 issue, 3 episodes, 1 of 3 issue miniseries. Writers Ben H. Winters, art is Leomax, colors by Luca Bertelle, covers by Christian Ward, shown Leomax and Malachi Ward, lettering by Becca Carey, editors Sierra Hahn and Azat Stiati as the assistant. Production is Sarah Rockwell. Genre science fiction. Age rating mature in capital letters because it is very much mature themed. Released June 18th, 2025. Was about more than just a writer, more than just a science fiction icon. Benjamin J. Karp was a cultural revolutionary. Across 44 novels and hundreds of short stories, including the counterculture classic, The Man They Couldn't Erase, Karp pushed the boundaries of literary respectability for the sci-fi genre and his readers' perceptions of reality itself until decades of amphetamine abuse and Southern California excess finally ended his mind-bending career that always has just escaped the mainstream success. He died in 1982. Until 2025, when Benjamin J. Karp awakens alive in a burned-out motel room on the fringes of Los Angeles. He remembers dying. He knows he shouldn't exist. Is he a dream, a robot, a ghost, a clone, a simulation? In his own time, Karp pondered all of these scenarios intensely through his fiction. Now, as he treks from Studio City to Venice Beach and onward into the paranoid sprawl of 21st century Los Angeles, he will be called upon to investigate his greatest mystery yet, himself. In the tradition of Philip K. Dick's A Scanner Darkly and Thomas Pynchon's Inherent Vice comes a uniquely fascinating and hilariously deranged excursion into the metatextual nexus where existence and oblivion, past and future, genius and madness, and glitter and grim reality all meet just beyond Hollywood Boulevard. Well, I appreciate the hype pitch description that Oni wrote up there for this. Problem is that they've laid it on so thick that there's hardly any chance that this comic's going to live up to the hype, and it doesn't. Trying to compare any comic, let alone a 3-issue miniseries, to the brilliance of Philip K. Dick or Thomas Pynchon is pretty damn ballsy. I mean, sure, cite them as sources of inspiration, but don't say in the tradition of, because you're not likely to hit the target. And the book, at least this first issue, doesn't. as I said. Lettering here is very annoying to me. I'll show you that in just a minute. But part of that is because the writer's intent is trying to make the omnipotent author caption boxes look like the author's writing the story with prose, metatextually juxtaposed in contrast to visuals. And there's other things that are going on I don't like with the lettering, but we'll talk about it in a minute. The story is okay at best. Carp, as a character, is sort of this really off-putting individual that is part out of time with himself and behaves inappropriately while thinking of himself as this superior person of consequence. Is he? Was he? Maybe, but good freaking grief. I realize there are people in the business who think their shit don't stink, that they're God's gift. But then when Winters makes Carp sort of have this mental disconnect to the outside world, and he does criminal things like taking people's cell phones out of their hands because he thinks it's an advanced tech device that he wrote about, or he sets a glass door to take a dog out of someone's home, the ex-wife or the guy he's with, because it's your dog, you get your dog, man. Well, kind of dumb. Anybody that's mentally sane simply wouldn't do these things. Then they try to suggest that he has written his own existence before he died. And when he finds out the story, the man they couldn't erase, along with his newfound friend, they reveal, spoiler, he's supposedly a robot because that's what it said in the book. Nah, I'm not buying into that. So I'm rather disappointed, to be honest. I was really hoping for more, and not just because of the fact that they're dropping PKD and Pynchon in the description. Winters has done some very Dickian prose science fiction in the past, and because I'm not familiar with his work outside of comics, I was maybe expecting a little bit too much out of this book. But since it is only 3 issues, I'll keep reading and hope that it improves, or at least entertains me enough by the time it's concluded. I'm going to give this first issue a 2.5. You saw the various covers. This is the only cover I actually liked, the Malachi Ward cover. And unfortunately, nothing like this actually appears in the comic, but it has that sense of a 1970s science fiction novel design to it.
Yeah. And it's also kind of spoilery.
Mm-hmm. Right. I give it 2.5. I'm just, yeah. And of course, I didn't actually get this in print. I had to read this online because why? Diamond can't have books. Thank you so much, Diamond. So, did you get a chance to look at this or not?
I did not. I'm sorry.
Okay, then let's look at the art. As you can see, I've yellowed out a bunch of language here. I do not like this weird sounds of shriek, shriek, buzz, knock, knock, all in the same yellow thing. As you can kind of see, this looks like almost text on a story page. Not comics, but like a normal novel.
Right.
And that's what like half the story is that kind of thing as captions. And then, okay, he's balding. He's got a big bald spot. He's like, what the hell are you doing in here? You're not supposed to be here. And he's like, I have a right to be here. And he gives all this constitutionally right protection, blah, 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 blah. It's stupid. And finally he says, well, if that's what you're telling me, and you're a man of consequence, then just get the hell out of my hotel room. So he just walks out, doesn't put his pants on, just takes his pants in one leg and his Hawaiian shirt and just walks out the door and off the res, so to speak. Now here's where he sees a cell phone, drops his shirt on the floor, drops his pants on the floor, steals the thing out of his hand. Hey, what is this? This is my SciTech in their computer later. Tell me where you got it. I'll tell you where I got it. Right upside the forehead. Now, of course, you don't see him dropping the phone on the concrete sidewalk where his phone would get completely smashed. Why would we show that, right?
Right.
So he's got his phone back and goes, I don't know, some lunatic just took my stuff and I got back. And so he's sitting there holding his head because he got smashed in the head with a skateboard. And the black guy, who's like a legal guy or whatever, is like, "Are you okay? There's something wrong with you. Can I help you? Whatever." So he's like, "Yeah, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's going on. I'm hungry." So he takes him out to eat, and then they explain who he is, and oh, okay, fine. I'll help you figure out what's going on. Is kind of the story. And I'm just like, yeah. Oh, by the way, my phone's ringing. Oh, here's my ex-wife. I got to go get. They shipped the dog's special dietary food to my house instead of hers, so I got to go take the dog food to the house. So they go to the house, and the dog's just having a fit, and he notices the dog has a rash under its collar, like there's a skin problem, and that's why the guy takes a brick and just smashes the window or whatever and takes the dog out, and they leave.
Yeah, this is not my story, man.
Yeah, it's not my story either. That's what I'm saying. It's very disappointing. Yeah, so yeah, and I was so disappointed. Everybody who was watching just left after I described that book. Figures, but okay, alrighty, man. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This is a better one. Mouse Guard, Dawn of the Black Axe, number 3, $4.99 by Archaia Bloom Studios. Watercolors, David Peterson. Line art by Gabriel Rodriguez. Covers by Gabriel Rodriguez. David Peterson is the shown one, and Matt Smith. Editors are David Marriott and Bryce Carlson. John Rafasi. Release date June 18th, 2025. What it's about: Bardrick's quest to protect the Lockhaven and Mouse territories from the surrounding serpents comes to a thrilling conclusion. Will the Black Axe's first wielder be able to complete his task before the poison that he's been subjected to continues flowing through his veins and claims his life? Who shall come to his aid in his hour of need? Well, Peterson and Rodriguez really did one of the best comics of the year with this miniseries. While others are praising half-baked crapola comics like Jeff Johns and Mark Miller, this book has largely been overlooked as a series. Do not pass it by. The artwork by Rodriguez is exquisitely drawn, and the story by Peterson is really well told with multiple levels of story and elements of story that can be discussed with your children, whereas the overhyped Ghost Machine and Miller World crap isn't even suitable for underage or under-teen readers, and that, I would say, older teen at that. So I give this my highest recommendation. I don't need to really go too much into it, but we'll look at it real quick. 5 out of 5 stars, and as you can see, oh my God, 5 stars!
Fantastic.
But I usually give this book a 4.5 to 5 anyway. Just this series. There again is the cover. I'm going to see if they got the back cover here. I think they have the back covers here as well. No, they don't. Okay. That's all right. This is the ads. But this is really something really cool in the end of it. They show you Gabriel's pencils.
Oh, nice.
And then they show the inks and the colors.
Yeah, I always like when they do that breakdown.
So,
yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
And it is gorgeously illustrated, so.
Yeah. Now, the storyline, basically, he has to fight the last ones. He gets not so much swallowed, but he lets himself be swallowed by the snake and then takes the axe and up through the roof of the head. But he's already been sick. His left arm is all damaged from taking a venom and stuff like that. So, and the other snake that the black snake was fighting, they were fighting each other because the white snake had agreed to basically turn good, but he already got bit through the top of the head by the black snake and is dying. And so he's like, well, I won't kill him. He filmed terms of his agreement. I don't have to kill him. And the spirit deer is saying, no, you don't understand. He's dying. He's in suffrage. So he wants you to end it for him, please. And that's what he does. So now the one who helped him was his girlfriend that he wasn't allowed to be with once he became the hunter. And she's like the queen of the mouse guild or whatever. And she's like, screw this, I'm going to go help my guy. Basically with a potion. so he doesn't die from the snake venom.
Cool.
At least not right away, anyway. But
so, would you say that this story is just an average story that just happens to use mice as the characters, or is it specifically like this is about a colony of mice? Like, could it be anybody in that story, or is it specifically about the mice?
I would say it's more specifically about the mice as a whole, the whole ecology of all the animals and how they coexist and stuff. But it's often told from the mice's the mice's point of view. But yes, it's got all the other animals, and it's the whole world built for what Peterson's done for over the years.
Okay,
so
very cool.
Yeah, and again, this is something that you can actually give your kids to read and not feel. They might be upset because a lot of people are dying in this thing, but it's not done in a gratuitous, in your face type manner per se.
Right.
It's talked about and presented in a way so that a parent can sit down with their kid and have a conversation with the kid about what's going on in the book without too much problems. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next book. And that's Blood and Thunder by Image for $2.99. Image Skybound. Robert Kirkman and Benito Sereno, E.J. Sue. Lettering by Ross Wooten. Colorist Michelle Sarah Scorn, also known as Miss Asic. Covers by Sue and Miss Asic. David Lopez, Andy Tong, and Rex Locus, and Bernard Chang. Editor Nachi Marsham. Genre Science Fiction Spiro, released June 18th, 2025. The prisoner from Cell Block X has escaped, but can Blood and her infuriatingly talkative gun, Thunder, stop him in time? Plus, discover the first meeting between Blood and Thunder. Really a bad description of the book, but that's what they gave us. I forget how many issues this is supposed to be, but this issue was basically a filler back issue, backstory for a whole issue at issue number 2. That's not a good thing in my opinion. The bad guy who escaped in issue 1 does some really interesting things and seems to have a certain kind of philosophy about him that has to do with that has a lot of potential to have the character be a socially aware character, but still in the wrong for how they go about trying to correct things that they think are wrong. In this case, economic levels and societal structure and how that creates inequities in this particular thing, the rich and the poor type thing. I do wish that the writers would chill out and not use so many cuss words. This is becoming more and more of a trend in independent comics. Listen up, Kirkman. Listen up, other writers. Using cuss words doesn't make you or your characters cool. I'm not saying there's no place for it, but as with any proper usage of language, understanding how and when to use it for effect is more important than trying to speak how, quote unquote, how people talk. And most people don't cuss 6 to 10 times over what would amount to be about a 5-minute conversation in general.
Beep, bleep, bleep, beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. And they had characters, and the lead character cusses like that many times in the first 8 pages, and it's all one conversation. So, it's kind of ridiculous. So that became more of a distraction to me as a reader and took me out of the story. It's very much how like you were complaining about the cussing in Bug Wars.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, we're not saying it's inappropriate, and both ironically, Bug Wars, which were also reviewed, comes out of Image as well. It is a mature reader's title, but what I'm asking is, if you remove the cussing, is this story now appropriate for a younger audience base? If the answer is yes, then I, as an editor and publisher, would want to ask the question as to why you're choosing to deliberately make your product in such a way as to alienate the potential audience it could get. Am I being foolish?
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, does the excessive profanity add to the story? I guess you got to ask that question.
No, it doesn't. Not to me, anyway. This is a book about a female space bounty hunter and her talking gun. That's pretty much a comic book for 12 to 15-year-olds, right?
Yep, absolutely.
but it's written in such a manner that shouldn't be marketed to anyone under 16 and under a mature label, which it does have a mature label reader on it. It's likely not going to be by most of your retailers, but then how does that affect your sales? Now, Robert Kirkman doesn't give a damn because Robert Kirkman is rich.
Right.
He can do what he wants, but you also kind of have to think about what you're doing too for your collaborators and stuff, because they aren't rich like you, Robert. Got a really good concept, and the character of Akeldama Bledsoe is a likable enough character, and I'm liking the book okay in terms of what it is. But can I go to the comic shop and promote this book openly? Not really, and that's a shame. Story solid, art's good, really well executed for what it is and what they want to do. I just wish they would clean it up slightly better, and I think it would be executed better if they just did it for the kids and not just be a mature reader's book. I'll give it 3.5 out of 5. So, like I said, my main hang-up is that. And I wish they had done something different than the Akira homage for the cover here. Everything right. Just slide the bike against something. It's like, But other than that, it's just there. Okay, here's the book. And her hair is kind of funny because she's got this like really high bulb that's flying out in the back there. But it's funny to look at in a way. But yeah, I mean, all she's doing is talking on her cell phone to the gun, and there's S bombs and F bombs like 4 times on this page, twice on each of these pages. And now it's like a flashback to when her father got the gun. Because the gun was actually her father's, was passed down to her. Yeah. And
it kind of gives me Tank Girl vibes a little bit.
Yeah.
Like with the character design.
Mm-hmm. And there she is, this little girl saying, "Hey, I got picked on because I'm adopted." Yeah. And then she finds out that she might be in trouble, but the boss says, "No, you're not in trouble. We just need you because the bad guy got away." Now, some of these weird video faces and stuff look really weird. It's almost like the female that calls her first and the guy that's her boss. It's the same, almost the same facial expression. They look almost
right.
like identical. They needed to not make them look too similar like that. But okay. Now they're at a special rich bank. And what do you want coins for? What do you want credits for? I've got so much stuff. I don't know how much money I've even got. I got to look on my special cell phone. My wrist. To how much money I've got. And so the bad guy's like, "Yeah, I don't think so." He grabs him by the head and squeezes his head like a pimple. Because he doesn't like the rich, obviously. And ultimately, he just says, goes into the bank, crushes in the bank. They think he wants the cash. He doesn't want cash. He wants to kill their mainframe so that nobody has any money. Which is actually pretty smart. So, pretty cool that way. So like I said, the bad guy is actually interesting, but we'll wait and see what they actually do with it. Okay. What is our next book? Well, it's Bug Wars, ironically enough.
All right.
$4.99. Image Comics by Jason Aaron. Art by Mohamed Asrar. Colors by Matthew Wilson. Covers shown by Asrar and George Corona and Sarah Stern. I'm not exactly sure if that is the actual covers. No, it's not. It's not by George Corona. It's by James Stocco. So my bad there. I was trying to get all the stuff, cut and paste with the credits, so I didn't have to do all the typing. So I missed up there. My bad. Lettering: Becca Carey, editor Heather Antos, science fiction, science fantasy. Released June 18th, 2025. What's it about? To save his family, Slade Slaymaker, one of the lamest names ever, must enter the weird web, a mystical cobweb labyrinth of the spider witch's ancient fate-spinning weavers and the deadliest spiders known to man, and all of it is hidden inside some plotted ferns on the side of his house. Can you see the little symbol on his chest? It looks kind of like Blue Beetle.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it is in the back of his shoulder pads are like the Beetle thing too. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing the Blue Beetle knockoff? Anyway, Slade just looking more and more like a cross between Adam and Blue Beetle, especially on that cover. And I wish Asrar would come up with a better design for the armor and look for the character, but whatever. Story reveals in this issue were okay. Enough to make me want to read next issue. And that's important because I said last time that they needed to give me something to get my interest. And they did, but I don't want to give a spoiler, so forgive me for not saying what. The story is kind of losing its pacing, though. I mean, basically everything in this story has taken place under the span of less than 72 hours in 4.5 to 5 issues. And the writing for the police is really, really bad. This isn't an abduction case. It's just clearly a runaway. It doesn't fucking matter, Jason Aaron. That's not how a missing person case works. There is no waiting time to report a missing person. And the police should be all over it, as should the local news media in the local area covering it. That doesn't mean they're going to find leads because of what's happened to Slay, but, you know, they should be doing more than just a couple of panels of cops blowing the whole thing off, as he'll come back when he runs out of money. Especially given the strange circumstances surrounding the father, who, as far as everybody else knows, is dead, and are mysterious causes. Now, if you have a strange death of someone in the house, even if it was years prior, and now you have that person's son go missing, no cop is going to blow that shit off and jump to presumptive conclusions. At worst, they're both going to assume that Sidney, the brother, has had something to do with both deaths, or the father's death and the person's missing, especially given his attitude and the way he's behaving, and consider him a suspect, not just casually blow the mom off like they do in the story. And they would send a damn detective, not a couple of jabroni beat cops, even in a rural Alabama town. I'm sorry. You know, the head detective would be on this. You know, so that bothers me because it would make more sense to have a detective interested in what's going on and maybe talking and taking Sidney in for questioning, or they go into the father's basement and they see enough to realize that something else is going on, or something that has potential for something with a character. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they don't. So I think the writer and artist were just more interested in telling the fantasy of this side of the story rather than address how it's all going to look in a real crime scenario. Well, I'm sorry, you can't just ignore that without having some criticism, because that's what you set up as a story, and that's what you chose to tell. And given the reveal that happens in this issue, it's going to be very odd explaining either of these things without acknowledging what's in the situation. So if the person who appears in this issue is really who they appear to be, then who or what was the earlier version that lends itself to the entire story? Lucy, you've got some explaining to do. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5, but only because of the story reveal. If they didn't have that reveal of that certain person in the story, I would give this issue a 1.5 or a 2-star, and I would probably be dropping the series. That's how important that reveal was. And then here's the James Stelco cover, which is a lot better than the other cover.
Yeah, I'm digging this cover. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but either way, you know. All right, next one is EPITAPHS from the Abyss, number 12. This is the last issue of this particular volume run at $4.99, EC/Oni Press. Various writers and artists, genre horror comedy, released June 18, 2025. It's an anthology series. You get 3 stories in this one. It is what it is. I guess the theme of this issue is help, because 2 of the stories is Help Less by Matt Kent and Klaus Janson, and She Needs Help by Tyler Crook. Now, I don't know if that's supposed to be a veiled commentary about the editor of this series, Sierra Hahn, or what, but it kind of felt like a little jab at her, as bad as this series has been. But what do I know? What I do know is that the stories are very droll and didn't have a damn thing to do with that first cover. There's nothing has anything to do with the farmer in the field and scarecrows. And so that should not have been the cover for the book. It should have been saved for October anyway, because of what time it was and what it would fit. The vein cover is the one you see now, the variant cover. This is what should have been the main cover. This at least relates to one of the stories in the book. Now, this series is not going to be on hiatus, or it's going to be reboot for Volume 2 at some later point. But it just feels like this book went out with a whimper, despite the closing sequence where the Gravedigger host gets attacked by 2 other people, and they announce a new miniseries, The Catacomb of Torment, which frankly just describes the reader's experience, is that we're being tormented whenever we buy and watch this or read this book. And it's not a fun reading experience. I'm going to give it 2.5. I'm being polite. Because it's not that the stories themselves were bad. It's just not EC stories. And the variant cover should have been the main cover, like I said, because at least it depicts something from both her story, at least. Let me go ahead and show some of this. Here's the book, and again, just a really blah cover, but it would be fine for October for Halloween. It would have been My Children of the Corn or something. Now, there's your first page interlude. The guy's finishing up digging his grave, the gravedigger. And here comes the bad guy who's going to bury him. And then you get to the story. They're in an aquarium. The shark is there. And the kid watches the shark eat someone in the tank, like a trainer.
Oh, well, that would be, that'd be terrifying.
Yeah. And so the guy who's his father shoots the shark dead and blah, 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 blah. You have nothing to be afraid of. You're pansy little boy. Don't like you. And so what happens, of course, is the kid that actually got connected mentally with the shark somehow. And now it's like he thinks he's a shark.
Interesting. So the absolute shark fan in me has a problem. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you can see he's kind of like, I gotta get in the hot tub or get in the tub and get water on me, so I can breathe, and all this other nonsense is going on. And of course, he starts dressing up like a shark, as if his dad's going to let him, right?
Right.
And so, because he was connected mentally to the shark, he's dressed like a shark. You know what's coming next, right?
Right.
I don't need to show.
He's going to eat some people.
he's going to his daddy who killed the shark.
Right.
So
but the absolute shark fan, shark fanatic in me has a problem with the fact that they portrayed a great white, even though you cannot keep a great white captive because it will die.
Well, almost every shark will live a shortened existence under captivity.
Yes, but great whites will literally kill themselves. Yeah. They cannot. You can't keep them captive.
Yeah. So anyway, there was that story. The other ones were just blah. That was the best of the 3, and that's not saying much. As you could, it's like, okay, whatever. Pretty predictable ending. Pretty predictable everything. Mama gave birth. There's something wrong with my baby. No, there isn't. There's something wrong with my baby. All through the kid, so the person's adult, right? She dies herself. Comes out of the grave and shocks the person, the daughter, enough that she has to go on a psych ward. I finally got them to listen to the doctors to listen to me and take care of her. I can go back and lay in the grave now.
Okay, that's odd.
Yeah. Why? What's the story? Yeah. Anyway, not the best stories. Okay, here's one that you can talk about.
Alrighty. This is I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer. Number 3. This is $3.99. Publisher is Image Comics. Writer is Doug Wagner. Artist Daniel Hillard. Colorist Michael Madsen. Letterer Ed Dukeshire. Genre horror comedy. Yeah, it's very much comedy. Age rating mature readers. Released June 18th, 2025. What it's about. Rennie finds out that fashion school is a bitch, that nobody can be trusted, and the only person she really respects is going to possibly have to drop out because she's not rich enough to be there. She was already killing people just to make it through the midterms. Now, who's next in line? What I thought. So things are looking up for Rennie. She's accepting her life at school, accepting her friends she's made, different attitude, different clothes, just a happier outlook on life. And the itch is gone. Maybe the story will have a happy ending. Nah, who am I trying to kid? Rennie gets looked over for the midterm design competition. Crack. Bodhi totally scams her into some sort of date, completely ignoring that he's dating Sophie. Crack. Meanwhile, Sophie's having problems with her student loans and will probably be kicked out of school. Crack! And the itch is back with a vengeance, and Rennie is finally cracked again. There will be blood. Yes, there will be blood. I'm really digging this. It's got a good pace. It's playing all the right tropes and playing into past popular trope films and TV series like Heathers and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Carrie. So, yeah, this is a fantastic series in my opinion, my humble opinion.
Now, what did I think of it? Now, I only read issue number 1. I didn't read issue number 2, but I missed part of the story, so to speak. And I read number 3 just to keep up with Chris, so we could discuss it. I am tired of skinless victims on each cover. It's getting very drawn old. Please do something else. I know why they're doing it, but it gets tiresome every single issue.
It loses the impact.
Yeah. The story is still pretty bland and predictable to me, but I do see the tropes and the things that the series is pulling from, and I can see why it's appealing to you and to potentially other readers. For me, however, I've seen it before, and I'm just bored with the book. I'm sorry to say. You give it a 5 out of 5. And I can understand why. I mean, the pacing of it and everything, it fits. I'm just like, I don't know. I think I know what's going to happen in the next issue, basically. And we have to wait and see what happens. But if I'm right, then it's just a complete waste of my time. You know what I mean? They got to do something that's like, okay, you've done this, and this. This is where it's going to go. I can't. You're that way with movies, aren't you? When you know everything's going to happen ahead of time, don't you get bored with it?
No, that actually is the complete opposite for me. Spoilers actually enhance the movie for me because I'm like, okay, I can't wait. I know what's going to happen, and I can't wait to see this part. So,
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm different with spoilers.
Okay. So anyway, I gave it a 2 because I'm just, when I can figure out the story before it's done, I lose interest. So go ahead. Here's some artwork from it. She's digging at her arm because she's itching. And then they find out that Sophie is going to the office to find out that she's owed money to the school because, for whatever reasons, her financial aid or whatever hasn't gone through. They didn't make any explanation, but she doesn't have enough money to go.
Right, and the itch is that's Rennie's. That's the killer in her trying to get out. Like when she gets the urge to kill, that she starts itching really bad.
Right.
So.
Right, and she's already mad because of Bodhi trying to trick her into a date when he's supposed to be Sophie's girlfriend and blows her off. And the woman with the blonde with the glasses is the teacher. The other blonde is the rich bitch who thinks she's God's gift to everything, and got the fashion design award. But that was because the teacher more or less said I kind of had to give it to her. I didn't want to. I wanted to give it to you. But okay, if you wanted to give it to her, why don't you just give it to her? Fuck the rich bitch. But
well, she said she couldn't give it to her because she didn't follow all the rules of the contest.
Oh, okay.
So, but her design was better, but that's why she couldn't give it to her.
Okay. Well, whatever. Yeah, I'm just not really. and then she's on the phone, and then she gets a text saying, "Hey, did you actually go on a date with Bodhi?" So she's all upset. And then, of course, Blondie is, mocking her for that. And, the itch. Is it really that, or is it that stupid necklace she's wearing that's causing her? I kind of wonder if that went away, if she would stop itching.
Right. And the one thing I didn't understand is the reason for that last panel. I don't get the upshot like that. I'm not sure why they did that, but whatever.
Because they had to show boobs.
I guess.
It's a boob shot, I mean, it's different, right?
Yeah, it is. That's definitely a different shot.
So anyway, oh my gosh, a trailer trash fashion designer. Can you imagine? So anyway, yeah. You keep wondering. And next is supposedly either a fashion show or a prom, and they've got the Carrie knockoff with one character. We don't know for sure who it is. There's a possibility of two different characters being completely drenched in blood. Now, it's cow blood, real human blood, whatever. We don't know. We have to wait and see, but whatever. I'm nonplussed, but I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's what matters.
But that's okay, because you're not a fan of the genre to begin with, so it's different.
Yeah.
It's the same way I feel about sci-fi, like straight up, hardcore sci-fi, which you really enjoy. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm always, so.
Yeah, right. Okay, The Lost Worlds of George Metzger for $50 from Fantagraphics. Writer-artist George Metzger with editor Patrick Rosenkrantz, who also does commentary throughout the book. Genre, fantasy science fiction, released June 18th, 2024. That's not a typo. It did come out a year ago. I'm not exactly sure when I got my copy, but it's been sitting in my to-be-read pile for ages. Age reading, mature. What is it about? George Metzger's underground comics stand out for their captivating combination of high fantasy and science fiction, his prescient views of climate change and political chicanery, and just when you need it, the right touch of whimsy and imaginative insight. Explore a feudal landscape and steam-powered vehicles, sort of skies and anarchistic airships, and hitchhike back to nature with the hippies. It's all there in this long-awaited anthology of Metzger's most iconic and idiosyncratic comics creations, including two never-before-seen series storylines just for this book. Rediscovered and missing for decades. Over 300 pages of 60s and 70s underground comics that influenced a generation of both underground and mainstream cartoonists, animators, and comic artists. What did I think? Metzger's seminal work, Moondog, has always been some things I'd been wanting to read. I just never came across it. I'd heard of it. I'd seen it on the internet, but I never came across actual physical issues. So when this was put out in a collection, I said, well, I better get that, The other thing is this cover here practically screamed Terry Austin inking style to me. And he didn't ink this book and anything to do with it, but it was like, wow. It had that feel to it. And I'm a huge Austin nut, as people know. So it's like, yeah, that's another reason why I wanted to see this. So the story of Moondog is that he's a blind shaman in a post-apocalyptic world that has completely broken down, and he only hosts small groups of survivors and survivalists. He leads his followers on a journey towards some sort of utopia and encounters very own mystical adventures along the way. Now, I can't say if the series lived up to the hype I've heard about over the decades. Nothing ever does when it gets that hyped up, let's be honest. But if I'm taking the work in context of when it was produced, I do think it's a very strong piece for its time. The other stories that are featured are all reasonably well executed, and I think Metzger was certainly an underrated talent who deserved more recognition by later generations, and I'm glad to have spent the money and the time exploring his work with this volume. That having been said, I won't overpraise him because of his so-called prescient writings. He is basically rephrasing many of the social problems of the day and extrapolating them to their natural course of things if we as a society didn't correct them. And of course we haven't. So if things in the book look like he had some sort of ability of predicting the future today, keep in mind that this also happened with most other social science fiction of that era. So it's not like he was some sort of genius. It was just being observant of the world around you and using common sense. Kind of like, yeah, I could have told you what was going to happen with Diamond ages ago if you'd listened. Yeah. Anyway, now in terms of this visual storytelling and experimentation on production levels and stuff in that area, in juxtaposition with what technologies were available to him at the time, I think he was very much cutting edge and explorative and had a major influence on later artists in the comic scene. And he's not credited enough for that because he was primarily an underground artist and not in the mainstream, hardly at all. But as I said, this cover and other things that are in this techniques remind me of Austin's techniques from the late 70s, early 80s. I don't know if METZGER was one of the crusty bunkers because that's where Austin trained, was under Giordano and Neil Adams. But I kind of see a little bit of that. I also see other things that remind me of Michael Golden's earlier DC work. And you can tell that people in the know were paying attention to METZGER's work in his era and that they were picking up on things he was doing and applying it in their own ways to their own work. And yet at the same time, he still has his own influences as well that you can see. You can see the Mike Plug, you can see the Wally Wood, you can see the other underground indie guys of the era. Now, apparently some people prefer the other stories over the Moondog stuff. I guess I can see that. I prefer the Moondog, but it is what it is. I'm going to give this book a 3.5. And here's some of the artwork. Now this, I'm going to see if I can enlarge this. Yes, I can. It looks kind of weak because of the way I got these off of the scan, not scanning it off the book because the book is too hard to break I don't want to break the binding on it. It's too thick. I don't care for the lettering. They're readable, but it's a very odd looking lettering.
Yeah, the font is just bizarre.
That's not a font. That's handwritten.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Remember, this was done in like 70. They didn't do fonts per se. But like the different types of different shading levels, this is not, I don't know if this is done by hand to get that little kind of weird texture or if he had a
like a stamp
or well, not really a stamp, like a zipatone type layer.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what it looks more like. I do like the way he draws things. I don't know if I can get it to go up. I can't, of course. There we go. You can see the reflection in the guy's mirror, reflection of his sunglasses of the vehicle as he passes by. I like the straight line stuff here for the shadows. That's an Austin effect that he uses often. Whoops. A little bit of almost boob shot there. Again, different levels of duo shading in here. That normally people weren't using back then. And because he did this so often and so well, it really started influencing other people and how they decided to do that. But it's interesting. But I probably would have been less enthused in a younger era of myself, shall we say?
Right. And what's going on with those exclamation marks under the word?
Oh yes, the disastrous. Yeah, mostly just no space.
It would have been better just to leave them off.
Yeah, I imagine. Okay, our next book is USAGI YOJIMBO 10,000 Plums, number 4 of 5 of $4.99 from Dark Horse Dogu Publishing. Writer and illustrator Stan Sakai with colorist full both inside cover and insides by Emi Fuji. It had been Amy just doing the covers, and oh shoot, I can't think of who was doing the colors. It's one of the big houses.
Hi-Fi?
Yes, Hi-Fi. Thank you. So anyway, variant cover by Hitoshi Ariga, letterer by Stan Sakai. Fantasy action adventure, release date June 18, 2025, was about Usagi and Yukichi find themselves among a band of pilgrims in search of the miraculous goddess known as the Mother. The skeptical Ronin's doubt proceed as this desperate collide of their new friends unfolds, revealing the obstacles that stand between them and salvation. Can the goddess Kenan come to Tabo's rescue? After the shapeshifter story for the last 3 issues, this is an interesting tale of the cousins Usagi and Yukichi coming together and coming across a pilgrimage to see a statue of Kanan, the mother, or Canaan. And it plays into the Khor-Shavarah sect, or Christian sect, it's obviously what they meant, who believe in one God, etc. And how they believe Kanan, Buddhist goddess of mercy, is another reflection of Mary, mother of Jesus. And they want to get to the site because of the miracle healing from the tears that happens when the statue cries. But of course, there are checkpoints blocking the pilgrims. They don't want anybody who has that belief even getting anywhere near the things that are blocking them. And the duo have to try to help these pilgrims make their way. It's a well-done story, and I think Stan Sakai does a reasonable job of respecting all the different various religious sects in the story and showing them as equally valid, but also showing the prejudice and skepticism side of things as well. I will give it a 5 out of 5. I usually do. What do you expect at Usagi? It always gets a 4 to a 5-star rating. Not much to have.
2 5 out of 5s today, huh? Wow.
Yeah. And then we got Sîan, Thief of Khor-Shavarah, number 1. This is $14 Canadian, about $11 US, with 48 pages. Publisher Craig A. Taillefer, creator Craig A. Taillefer, genre fantasy. This has a March 2025 print date, but I didn't get it till June 5th in the mail. It's crowdfunded on Kickstarter. What's it about? Where two rivers meet lies Khor-Shavarah, a gleaming independent city-state gateway into the shining Cerulean Sea. Here, merchants from the southern lands across the sea mingle with caravans from the east and traders from the western lands and island kingdoms. A city of marble palaces and rich estates perched over terrace hills, it's a melting pot of cultures and trade from faraway lands. There is luxury and comfort abounding for citizens of the high city, but even among the heights, the shadows creep from the depths below. And in the lower shadowed haunted depths where the low folk live, where your thieves and your pickpockets rub shoulders with swordsmen and killers for hire, men and women of the night ply their trade. Now, there are 2 stories here. One is a brand new story for this campaign, and the second one is a reprint from the anthology Mythography, which I owned, that came out in the 90s. So I was a little bit annoyed that the book was partly, because the book was something that I already owned, but it came out, like I said, originally 1997, 1988. This is 2025. I think I can let it slide, that it's being reprinted, right?
Right.
It's not like people are going to remember that story after almost 20 years. He does a really good job. I wish you could have read this because this is a book that you would really enjoy, I think.
It looks like one I would really enjoy. So,
anybody who likes Conan the Barbarian or that type of fantasy comic, the printing's well done, which is also the reason why the book costs so much. It's black and white interior, so that might be a turn off to some. It's not to me. I gave it a 4 because if it had just the original content and not the reprint, it would have got a 5. But being that it's partly reprint, I had to kind of give it 1 less star. I think that's fair. So that was my thought on that. And let's take a look at this art. You can see it's kind of got that shiny, glossy cover.
Mm-hmm.
Autographed by Taillefer.
Oh, that is gorgeous stuff. I love me some good black and white art, man. There's just something to be said about a good ink line.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is a guy who's a thief, but not really. He's more like a barbarian.
Kind of like Conan.
Well, no. I mean, yes, he's kind of like Conan, but Conan isn't so, like, full of himself everywhere.
Right.
He's more serious, I guess you could say. And then he meets Sîan, and he wants Sîan to team up with him and be his paramour. And she's like, yeah, I don't think so. But I could use your help with some things. So you help me with this, and we'll go through things. And they stole an item. And he's got the jewel that they stole, so she makes out with him and basically steals the thing off of him. And says, okay, let's go. We're going to go find a place and have some fun, if you know what I'm saying. And she kind of gets around the corner, and she's gone. And then he looks for the Joel. Oh, crap. Okay, that's funny. You got me. All right. I guess I shouldn't be a thief. I'll learn from this. And she's like up and above where, he could see her if he wanted to, but he's like, yeah, I'll just go be a soldier. So it was a cool little story. Certainly worth the money. I wish, like I said, it was all original, but I understand. And overall, it's just kind of there. All right. Now, I didn't get the graphics up for this one.
So from now on, when you have a book like that, I expect you to scan it in page by page by page for me, and then so you can send it to me.
Or if they send me a PDF,
No, scat it, peasant.
No, I'm not going to scan it. I'll get the PDF, but I'm not going to scan and wreck the book. Go buy your own. Anyway, the last one is You'll Do Bad Things, number 3. Didn't have time to actually do a graphic for it, but this is one of Chris's. Let's see if I can find something real quick. Oh, I take it back. There's another one that's yours.
Yes, there is.
Oh, dear. All right. I forgot about that one, but all right. There you go.
All right. This is The Slasher's Apprentice, number 2, $4.99 by Mad Cave Studios. Writer Justin Richards, artist Val Halverson, color Rebecca Nolte, lettering by Buddy Bedouin. Editor James B. Emmett, genre horror. This was released June 4th, 2025. What it's about. When Riley doesn't give them much of a choice, the Hopton Valley killer springs into murderous action, putting Riley to the test as she must dive knife first into assisting with taking out an entire frat party. As HVK seems set to prove why they're one of the greats, Riley seeks to prove she's worthy to follow in their footsteps. This issue furthers the story of Riley, a young lady who idolizes and immortalizes the local legendary serial killer, who, to be honest, is more of a mass murderer, in my opinion. But that's a fine detail that we can discuss. She pulls the trigger and pretty much blackmails the killer into taking her on as an apprentice. They proceed to a frat house where some really great kills take place, and Riley actually helps out her mentor in a pretty clever way, or so I thought. Our killer begrudgingly admits that Riley has what it takes to work with him for now. Really enjoying this series so far. It's done in an almost satirical manner, like the film Behind the Mask, The Legend of Leslie Vernon, which is one of my recent favorites. Yeah, I've been a fan of that movie for actually a long time. I keep harping on that Raven that we need to watch, but I bet he really hates this comic and will poop all over that movie too. Drat it.
Eh, eh. I'm not a fan of the art style. The HVK killer design just screams Rorschach wearing a cowardly lion's mask. And he's so cute and lovable to me, which may be why what the creators are going for to make this silly nonsense readable enough. I don't know. Like I said, he's wearing a green trench coat instead of a purple one like Rorschach. He has multiple buttons that keep falling off, and the girl has to keep picking up the buttons so he doesn't leave traces behind. She's not smart enough to realize that he wants to get caught. That's why he leaves his traces behind, dummy. But giving him back his buttons.
Or he's just too big and mute, and like he's got some mental issues going on, and he just doesn't realize it.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm just not really into it. But I can see why you enjoy it. You give it a 4. I'll give it a 2. Here's some of the art where they're actually at the frat party. This frat party thing, it's like there's only a couple of handful of people. It's extremely well lit scene, and she's like, okay, he's outnumbered like 4-1, so she starts screaming for help and say, hey, you know, I'm up here, I need help. You know, and that's what he thought was clever. That because it got a few of the guys to come upstairs to see what was going on, so he could like take care of the others by himself. Okay, she's got this. She's got her knife, and she's standing there in her little outfit, which, you know, whatever, right?
Yeah, the outfit isn't great, but you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, if the woman was screaming for help and she's dressed like that, that would automatically be like, what the hell? Yeah, but anyway, you know, he's killing them all the way there, and they're all done, and she's like, oh, you really never talk, huh? I got that was just more of a gimmick. So do I have what it takes? And he sits there and messes around with the magnets on the board, because like everybody's got child magnets on their board on the refrigerator at the frat party, right?
Some people use them for leaving messages. They do.
Yeah, I just kind of weird on that, and I just, you know.
And I thought that was a little bit of foreshadowing, like, you know, like, oh, so she's not necessarily safe with him. Like he's putting up with her for now, but he could get tired of her and just off her. So
right. Okay. So again, it's not that it's a horrible comic. You know, you enjoy it for what it is, and that's perfectly fine. Now again, in the meantime, I'm trying to find. Let me find the. I'm thinking if I can find it real quick here.
You could just go to the site and share the screen, right?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right. Let me see who. All right. It's You'll Do Bad Things number 3. And let me present the screen. If it. Tyler Boss, art by Adriano Turtolici, lettering by Hassan Asman Al-How, editing by Courtney Menard, and design by Dylan Togg. Go ahead and tell me what you thought of it.
So this story, or this particular issue, does nothing, in my opinion, to further the story at all. The same things happen. This is because, you know, he's like mixing up visions of his mom with a stripper in a strip club that he's at. But it just basically rehashes. Yeah, he's a writer. Yeah, he wrote a bestseller about a serial killer, a real serial killer, and help actually catch that killer. And now he's trying to write a romantic comedy, but you know the endings never turn out right. It's just the same thing that happens in the previous issues. And then it ends up with the killer coming, and you don't know, you know, who the killer is, what he's all about. It does nothing to forward the story.
And is it just because this art suck?
It's not fantastic in my opinion. I can see a little bit of, I can see some Frank Miller in there, some early Frank Miller.
Eh.
You know, like The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Little bit.
I'm just not really.
You know, and then of course, you know, a little bit of Lynn Varley there, colors, but yeah, it's just not. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done with this book. So this, I gave this, what did I give it, a 2? I think.
Yeah, you gave that one a 2. So we're gonna cancel. We're gonna stop at that one, and that will be our last review for the night. We don't have our stuff set for next week because we don't know what books we're going to be able to get next week, thanks to the whole Diamond situation.
Everything's in flux.
Yep, and we do know that a lot of the Dynamite books, according to my local retailer, our third party who's not here tonight because of his health and other reasons, John, he told me earlier today that he can't get any Dynamite books for another month. So that's going to like put a real crimp on all of the stuff that John normally reviews. But he's got stuff he hasn't read, so he's going to try and get caught up on the back issues, and we'll cover that. But he's got to get past that kidney stone and be able to do things first.
Right.
So that's that. As far as we're concerned, still got back issues to get. I don't know. This could be screwing up what I can do for next week in terms of the manga, because I was supposed to get a certain book and didn't come in. Of course, who's sending it Diamond, so I may never see the damn thing. Yeah. I almost have to go to the bookstore and see if they got it over there.
Right.
Oh, it's terrible. But anyway.
On a happier note, tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow is Friday. And what does that mean? Well, double feature for our Friday night movie night. We'll be reviewing both Cemetery Man and Dylan Dog. Chris and I will be, because John backed out again, partly due to his health, partly due to stuff with scheduling, and partly because I don't think he really wants to watch these films.
And for those of you that don't know, Cemetery Man and Dylan Dog are just different iterations of the same character, Dylan Dog. Cemetery Man was actually supposed to be a Dylan Dog film, but they couldn't get the rights, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And so they had to change it up a little bit and call it Cemetery Man.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. And so both of those are both available on Tubi, TUBI. So if you want to watch them before for free, like we do, then we'll have something to talk about. And you can talk with us tomorrow night. That'll be at 8 p.m. So things for then. In the meantime, if you want to contact me on social media at Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, at the Twitter X Machine, also known as Muskrat Channel, it's at LewisBrightRaven2. You can see some of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You can see Chris's at deviantart.com/Fatboy73. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, exclusively on YouTube. And if you have questions, comments, recommendations of comics you want us to try and review, Quoth the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com is the place to go. If I don't get back to you, try Lewis Bright Raven at yahoo.com. And this weekend, what's going on this Saturday on your channel?
All right. This Saturday, we have Kevin Van Hook on Throwing Stones from Glass House. Kevin is he's one of the leads at Glass House Productions, so it's going to be a really, really great episode. And of course, we have portfolio reviews and a bunch of other things. So,
and Kevin is also the creator of the character Bloodshot that you guys have seen from Valiant and the movie that was supposed to come out and came out the week that COVID shut everything down. So they got no box office. It had Vin Diesel as Bloodshot. And he's the creator of that character, and he's also done other things for Caliber Press and DC and Image and stuff over the years. So very experienced writer and illustrator.
Yeah, and now animator as well. So, so yeah, he's done it all.
Yep. Oh, I think he's also been a movie director, if I remember correctly. But
yeah, I believe so. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So anyway, that's the guest on Saturday for Glass House Throwing Stones. And we'll give you more on that tomorrow night. Until then, though, we'll see you next time. Quoth the Raven.
Nevermore.